Hi, good day everyone. I'm happy to be back at Black Hat Asia. Again, thank you for joining me today. My name is AJ Jose. I'm the Regional Director at OTISAC. Now, I'd like to share with you a bit of my background before we start. My primary role is to support strategic planning and development of OTISAC growth strategy, which includes innovation programs, forging partnerships, and strengthening relationship with asset owners, operators, government, and other stakeholders in developing CII ecosystems around the region. Global Resilience Federation Asia Pacific, in partnership with Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore, launched the OT Cybersecurity Information Sharing Analysis Center, or OTISAC, to enhance information sharing and permit timely responses against cyber threats. You'll see us as part of in the Singapore OT Master Plan, key thrust number 2. OTISAC facilitates sharing of tactical and strategic security details, providing early insight into emerging threats, detection techniques, and containment measures. Now, exchange information includes vulnerabilities and attacks to OT systems and relevant IT applications affiliated with OT systems. Now, over the next few minutes, we will explore evolving OT threat landscape, including ransomware attacks that have impacted OT environments and other emerging trends. Now, in the end of the session, we'll also share mitigation strategies and best practices on how ICS asset owners and ICS operators can better prepare for ongoing and emerging OT threats, issues, and vulnerabilities. Now, according to Kaspersky ICS report that was published earlier this year, globally the percentage of attacked ICS computers in 2020 was 38.60. The second half of the year was 33.4, which was 0.85 percentage points higher than the first half of the year. So we've seen an increased there. Now, the percentage of ICS computers targeted by malicious actor was slightly bigger in Asia compared to the rest of the world. So as you can see, 47% is Southeast, 46.3 goes to East Asia, and 48.8 in Central Asia. Now, ransomware. Ransomware threat actors dominate the threat landscape and continuously evolve their tool sets and have grasped the skills to gain an initial foothold in a targeted network and then deeply compromise it. Kaspersky sees rise in ransomware attacks on ICS devices in developed countries, and sadly, targets includes healthcare organizations researching and producing vaccines for COVID-19. Now, the next is we're also seeing an expanding cyber attack surface in supply chain. The most striking cyber operation of 2020 is the SolarWinds supply chain attack that resulted in the infection of thousands of organizations. Now, also, I'd like to share the other the main threat sources, which are covered from the Kaspersky report, was internet, removable media, and email clients. Now, although ransomware impacting ICS is often IT focused, it can have a disruptive impacts on operational technology as well. So I'd like to show you some of the recent incidents impacting industrial sector. In the oil and gas industry, Shell was recently targeted by the Clop ransomware gang, causing sensitive internal data such as passport data from its American and Hungarian offices and its US employees' visa to be stolen and leaked online. The next is the Canadian IoT solutions providers, Shera Wireless. They were also involved in a ransomware attack, causing production operations to be stopped at their manufacturing sites. Now, the next two are both victims of Revil ransomware attack. Acer reportedly suffered, attracting the highest ransom demand in history of 50 million. And the other one is a leading French electronics manufacturing, a steel flash. It also suffered a cyber attack by the Revil ransomware gang, who is demanding a 24 million ransom. Now, the common attack vectors that threat actors from ransomware gang Revil use is to enter corporate networks are through phishing emails, compromise remote desktop protocol credentials, and also an exploitation of several public-facing services. Now, here's a few ways on how companies can improve on their countermeasures are listed, but not limited to. First is, of course, it's important to implement a cybersecurity user awareness and training program to help your employees, your staff, identify and report suspicious activity. Second is to conduct organization-wide phishing tests, so you can periodically gauge your employees' awareness and reinforce importance of identifying potentially malicious emails. The next is to audit network for systems using remote desktop protocol, closed unused RDP ports, enforce account lockout after a specified number of failed attempts, and most importantly, apply a multi-factor authentication logging RDP login attempts. Now, lastly is, of course, is to engage a trusted channel like an ISAC to enable the organization receive actionable information and adoption of essential cybersecurity best practices for mutual defense. Now, the SolarWinds attack demonstrated how dangerous could be a supply chain attack and how hard is to detect it. Now, a recent paper written by Daniel Aaron Ray shares on what are the risks created by the supply chain. First is the remote access for upgrades and repairs. One of our partner, Clarity, in their report in the biannual ICS risk and vulnerability, it identified the gaps in remote work expand attack surfaces. So while organizations reap the benefits of digital transformation to enhance their ICS process, it also elevates the attack surface in the ICS. Second is the suppliers of computer hardware and software. So when you purchase computers, especially if it goes if it's designated as a maintenance laptop, it should come from a reliable vendor source, and the package should be sealed without the operating systems installed. Organizations should put a special attention on purchasing maintenance software and its periodic update process, including receiving a sealed CD from the producer. The next one is the PLC and RTU hardware and software. And for most organizations, material documents, material departments are being purchased through the tendering, which allow them to propose the requested product at a reduced cost. So to prevent this risk, the regional vendors, or I would say the authorized distributor, needs to submit and deliver the product in originally sealed and secured package. The next is the ICS software programs. So according to CISA, the vendor also should, the vendor bears a responsibility to incorporate the latest version of the third-party software into the current version of the ICS product before delivery. So it should also support customers in patch testing and providing patches of their own software. And lastly is the maintenance of ICS processes. A cross-functional team of control engineers, ICS operators, and IT security professionals needs to work closely together to understand the possible implications of the installation, operation, and maintenance of security solutions in conjunction with ICS operation. Now, information sharing is essential to the protection of critical infrastructure. Now, I'd like to share to you one of the previous incident, which is the crisis. It demonstrated on what are the unique challenges in OT to sharing, and will also uncover on my next slide on how this conversation matured in OT scenes. Now, the first is that, as you know, for Trisis, it is a highly sophisticated piece of malware forced an important oil and gas facility that suddenly shut down in 2017, second half of 2017. The malware was specifically engineered to sabotage Schneider Electric's Triconic safety instrument system. So the engineers were able to discover the malware due to mistakes in its code, which caused the remitted malfunctioning of the safety instrumentation system device. So the malware was designed to modify the safety control logic of the device and would have caused destructive impact if successful. Now the Trisis malware was discovered again at an additional industrial facility in 2019. Right now, I'd like to share with you on what was the challenges in information sharing during that incident. So the information sharing during in the incident was limited on the initial months after the incident. A lack of complete and timely information on the incident and malware was not shared with the international community. DHS was made aware through intelligence sharing with the Saudi government. However, the critical information on the malware and incident was only provided by private organizations that were not affiliated to the victim months after. Now, there are two highlights on the challenges with OT and ICS cybersecurity information sharing that incident. First is the culture of sharing is not familiar with industrial organization. And second, the lack of trusted international and independent channel to share information. Now, the Trisis incident brought about an increased awareness on the kinetic impacts of OT cyber attacks, such as the loss of life and safety. Now, it resulted in governments and companies taking OT cybersecurity more seriously and accelerated the adoption of OT security technologies. For example, CSA has developed their OT cybersecurity master plan. Now, it also increased visibility and monitoring of OT networks since 2017 forms foundation for information sharing among the community. Next is the Trisis also stressed the importance of an ecosystem approach to defend against cyber OT threats involving the collaboration of device manufacturers, system integrators, and asset owners. And lastly, the recently published MITRE attack for ICS provides a common taxonomy for organizations to share information on the tactics, techniques, and procedures used by adversaries to target OT networks. Now, organizations are looking for trusted channels that can mitigate threats and enable better response. OT ISAC is a hub of defensive intelligence and practices from many different sources, including other members, partners. So using shared resources, organizations can enhance their security posture by leveraging the knowledge, experience, and capabilities. So they can proactively prevent threats, attacks uncovered witnessed by or impacting other businesses, sectors, or regions, or if impacted, it can borrow recovery options, lessons learned, and procedures from allies. Now, let's dive on how we can work together. Because having the right vested channel that provides your organization access to actionable information can greatly assist you on improving your cyber resiliency. So here's a visualization of how does it works. So the slideshow illustrates threat intelligence sharing works and how it can stop potential attacks. So a possible scenario can be summarized within the following process. So a member of the OT ISAC receives intelligence about an imminent threat or is targeted by a cyber attack. And then the member notifies the OT ISAC and shares the threat information. And then OT ISAC reviews the information to determine the legitimacy and severity of the threat, assessing if an alert to the community is warranted. Then, if the threat is determined to be real, OT ISAC will send alerts across the community. So at this stage, community members can share additional technical data relevant to the threat, which will be distribution across the network by the OT ISAC. So at this time, members of the community could have the opportunity to take a proactive precautions due to the alert from OT ISAC, raising the likelihood that they would be able to defend against a similar cyber attack. Now, I'd like to share to you an actual case study in our ISAC. So, November 2019, there's a campaign targeting executives and ICS field automation engineering personnel. So, an organization in the oil and gas sector observed a credential harvesting campaign that spoofed Symantec quarantine portal. The company reported the incident to their sharing community analyst, and the phishing page was hosted on Microsoft infrastructure. Now, analysts within the sharing community identified the new TTP of cyber actors targeting and spoofing Symantec quarantine portal, which is specifically relevant for IT teams to share with administrators. So this incident being reported to sharing community allowed other members, other organizations in the sector to retroactively search their networks to determine if they had been targeted as well, to advise administrators and ICS field automation and engineering personnel. Now, I'd like to share with you on how OT ISAC and network sharing pathways. We ingest, process, research, redacts, and reports. So we are a hub of defensive intelligence and practices from many different resources, including other members and partners, as you can see in the slide. OT ISAC can submit incidents or share information either anonymously or with attribution. So it can be via phone, email, or within the portal. Now, the traffic light protocol is one of the most important instruments for sharing information within OT ISAC. The organization or individual submitting information determines the TLP protections desired, allowing a submitted to control the extent of distribution of information so that he or she knows with whom their information is being shared. So if it's TLP red, it is only desired to a restricted defined group and should not be shared with anyone outside of the immediate group. TLP amber, confidential. This information may be shared only within a specific community. TLP green is information within this category may be shared with community members and other sharing groups, government strategic partners. Information in this category may not be shared in public forums. And lastly is the TLP white. This information may be shared freely and is subject to standard copyright rules. Now, OT ISAC continuously build it's continuously build its effort to strengthen the information infrastructure through effective cyber threat information sharing and analysis, while also providing tangible value to our member companies. So I'd like to share to you some of the highlight benefits. The RFIs, request for informations, it allows our members to leverage help and advice from a broader network, including other industry sectors which face similar threats to their businesses. They can engage with local OTISAC analysts to help them mitigate successful attacks, intrusions using best practices or known solutions coming from the other resources. Now, community building, we build, of course, member committees and working groups, efforts to improve community security posture and enhance capabilities by coordinating response and proposing policies and best practices. We also engage in community events such member meetings, member briefings, threat calls, allow our members to access on what are the key cyber threats, incidents impacting CII, critical industrial sector, and vulnerabilities. We also build on the capability of OT vulnerability research, and the community vulnerability reports that we provide includes on the shows, let's say, on the possible exploits to critical systems identified as important by community members. Now, most importantly is that we aim to boost the workforce of capability of our members through a designed training course that involve in supporting and protecting their OT environment. So this educational training provided by our partners or within OTISAC and GRF. Now, Global Resilience Federation GRF mission is to help assure the resilience of critical and vital infrastructure against threats that could significantly impact the order functioning of the global economy and general safety of the public. The need for cross-sector intelligence sharing is increasing as malicious actors more sophisticated and often target multiple industries simultaneously. So this slide shows on the process on how the cross-sharing networking, cross-sector sharing network works. And it allows our members to access a cross-border, to have a cooperative exchange information for collective cybersecurity and obtain a warning intelligence. Also, GRF members includes FSISAC, Retail ISEL, Legal Services, Energy Analytics, Security Exchange, Health ISAC. So these are the communities that coordinates in a cross-sector intelligence sharing. Now, cybersecurity, one of the foundational elements of cybersecurity is effective information sharing. As you can read in the code, cybersecurity success or failure hinges on the ability of people, organization, and industry sectors to share information. In OTISAC, a member company can securely and anonymously share threat information with OTISAC analysts who further enrich and disseminate actionable alerts, intelligence, and best practices for community members to defend themselves and take mitigating action against malicious actors, their tools, and system exploits. We also partner with government, private sectors, and other information sharing organizations to acquire and disseminate timely and relevant information for the resilience of member companies. Now, to share with you, during 2020 and despite the COVID-19 pandemic, OTISAC grew its membership community from industrial sectors and established alliance partnership with key experts like Clarity, Kaspersky, ICS-CERT, Tenable, and Group IB. So we'd love you to be part of OTISAC community. So for more information, you can kindly visit our virtual booth to get access on a trial membership. Alternatively, you can also visit our website, www.otisac.org. And right now, we reached to the end of my session. I'd like to thank you for your time. It's been an honor to be part of Black Hat Asia 2021 community session. Thank you and have a good day.